everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of boards, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to another DM's Guild review, my written and video review series where I take a look at the adventures and supplemental material at the Dungeon Masters Guild website. This video will be reviewing the player supplement The Sacrifice Domain by JVC Perry and Mr. Tarrasque for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Review copy has been provided for the purposes of this review. Mr. Tarrasque, by the way, has also a YouTube channel that reviews DM's Guild products. Be sure to check that channel out. Give it a sub if you like what you see. I'll include a link in the description below. If you'd like to support this channel, consider using my affiliate links for your online shopping and supporting me via patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shoutouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Tiny Dancer, Manuel, Basil, Wizard Princess, Christopher, Dave, and By Inspection. And gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy Numa, Marco Stade, Vicente Gilberto, Sean AK, Cert 2B, Adam, Dead Lizard, Lounge, Sam, Ross, Limpy Spuds, Jerome, Fatboy 619, Sklenia, Nick. Thank you all very much for your support. Here's a bit of trivia for you. Which class, if you're just looking at the official published material for 5e, so Player's Handbook, Xanathars, Pasha's, which class has the largest number of subclasses? I will pause so you can pause me and then think about it and then come back. You can probably see where I'm going with this, though. The answer is the Cleric. The Cleric has the largest number of subclasses, domains. So if you're going to do a Cleric domain, you've got the most crowded class to work with. So you're really going to have to stand out. You're going to have to provide something that none of the other Cleric domains do, and obviously be a well-designed, balanced class in of itself. I don't think the Sacrifice domain does that. In fact, I have some big problems with the way this subclass is designed. First of all, this may win the award as being the shortest and smallest product I have ever reviewed in the years that I've been doing this. I have reviewed single subclass supplements before. Previous examples was the Cyborg Fighter, which that one managed to include 10 plus pages of cyborg augmentations and new spells. There was the Bard College of Percussion, which was over 30 pages, including multiple subclasses, new backgrounds, instruments, factions, NPC stat blocks, and even a short adventure that obviously goes way above and beyond. Probably the closest one would be the Paladin Oath of the Voidwalker, which also was a single subclass that didn't really have anything extra to add. So comparing it to that, you really have to be a well-designed class, because if you're a supplement that has 20 subclasses, I'm not going to nitpick all of them to death. If your whole product is one subclass, then you need to be dynamite, because that's all you've got to give me. The Sacrifice domain, first of all, when I picture it, you could go one of two ways. One of them, for some reason in my head, I can't get rid of the picture of a necromancer style character summoning skeletons and then exploding them, literally sacrificing them and exploding and doing shards. That's unfortunately not what we get here. Sacrifice in this case is self-sacrifice. It's a martyrdom. So you're sacrificing your own hit points in order to do different effects. In this case, you can heal or deal damage. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite go hard enough into that theme, and I have a major problem with the way the channel Divinity is designed. So first of all, at first level, you gain martial weapons and heavy armor, which I feel like half the clerics do. Freaking clerics, they're go off on a rant for a second. The most beloved spoiled child from Wizards of the Coast. The fact that they're the primary healers and they can be really solid tanks, and most of the subclasses make them half fighters. Clerics can do it all. It's just too much. Frankly, it is annoying to me. But that's not necessarily this designer's fault, obviously. They're just trying to make a interesting subclass. So their first level ability is whenever you deal any melee attack, you can funnel your own hit points into damage. And it's just a 1-to-1 straight up. So if you can take, I use 5 of my hit points to deal 5 more damage. Now, those of you that watched our Tomb of Annihilation campaign, I rewarded one of our players at the end of doing their personal quest arc with a weapon that did something similar. You could channel your own life force into dealing damage, but the way I did it is that you had to roll on both ends, and you could choose from a range. So it was like 2d6 to 46 or something. and she had to make the choice of, okay, I'm gonna do, and whatever you choose, you had to deal that to yourself or the opponent, and you could choose to do it to yourself first or whichever one. It didn't really matter. But you could like, all right, I'm going to do 3d6 extra damage. So you'd roll 3d6, and that would be how much damage you would take yourself. And then you would roll another 3d6, and that's how much damage you would deal as a result. So there was a kind of cool little bit of risk reward there, would, average out in the end, but just kind of added a little bit more to it that made it more fun. In this case, I wish this had done something similar, because it's just kind of a 1-to-1. And then whenever you're healing, it's the same thing. There's no dice involved. It's just that you can spend your own hit points to add that on top of any healing spells, but with healing, you actually get double that. So you can spend 5 of your hit points and get and heal for another 10. So you become a really good healer that uses your own hit point life force. Which, okay, that's, I wish there was a little more dice involved there, but fine. Second level, Channel Divinity has multiple problems, and this is what's weird. Is this like the cornerstone of this class, and Channel Divinity should be a main feature of every cleric domain. Yes, all clerics can cast spells, but guess what? Most of the classes can cast spells. It's not really that special. The special thing that makes clerics is the Channel Divinity feature. And Channel Divinity scales off of a short rest, which means it's the thing you can do more often, in theory, than casting spells, depending on what your adventuring day looks like. So the Channel Divinity for the Sacrifice domain is that as an action, you explode. You explode with, it's actually force damage, even though it sounds like it would be a radiant blast. Everybody within 30 feet of you takes 2d12 force damage per level of Cleric. And you die at the end. It is literally an explosive, like, one time you kill yourself. You're dead instantly. You cannot be brought back to life. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, nothing. It's a one-time use ability that deals damage. Here's a problem, multiple problems. One, as I mentioned, Channel Divinity is something your cleric should be doing more often. It is your signature ability, it recharges on a short rest. This one specifically says you can only do this once ever, and it kills you. That is not good design. It's not good player design. I don't want to... Channel Divinity is something I want my players to be doing more often. I want players to be doing abilities in general as much as they can. If you want to include this as an addendum, or, to their regular ability, and say, hey, if you want to go harder with this ability, you can, even take this amount of damage that will down you or something, like, okay, but don't make that the only signature way to use your Channel Divinity, is literally to just self-explode. Secondly, I don't know if the damage is actually worth it. Like, I'm not a math person, but a fighter with Great Weapon Master at 5th level, with a great, like a great axe or something, I think on average, assuming they hit with both attacks, can do like 40 damage in a total round, and then you can do Action Surge and deal more damage. I'm picturing like 10 damage average, and then the plus 10 for the Great Weapon Master, so that's 20 damage in a hit. If you hit both times, it's 40 damage. If you do Action Surge, I believe you can attack and extra attack on top of that. Fighter can just do that just by using a short rest ability called Action Surge. Now, obviously, the difference is, A, that fighter has to hit with all those attacks, or at least 3 out of the 4 attacks to equal the damage, and B, that's only against one enemy, and this is an AoE blast that also doesn't have a save. It really cheats the system here. It says, well, since we're killing you, it deals damage in a huge AoE, and nobody can save. But that also kind of breaks the rules of D&D, because literally every time there's any kind of AoE blast, unless I'm forgetting something, there's always a save involved. So it's just very bizarre. And again, you could have included this as either a very high-level ability or make it some kind of a range where, like, you can pump your own hit points into some kind of blast. Make it like a Divine Smite, but instead of using spell slots, you use hit points, for example. And then that determines, like, either the range or the damage or both. And then maybe there can be an addendum at the bottom that says, hey, if you use all of your stuff, then... I still don't like the idea of killing yourself. I would say then you go down to 0, but you're stabilized. You just, like, expend all of your life energy. You're still alive. You just kind of knock yourself unconscious, I guess, which maybe that's just not what the design wanted to do. Maybe they wanted to have this big explosive, like, I want to build a character that's got this awesome moment and ability they can use. But then, I don't know, as a DM, your character, if you've got a player playing this character, then you know some kind of big boss fight you throw together, the team is just going to be like, well, we'll just plan on having, I don't know, Francine the cleric just step up and use her giant explosive blast to just end this encounter. So it's not even fun for like the DM standpoint either, even if you were like, well, let's, make it a cool cutscene moment, just because you've got this ability like ready to go at some point that's just going to kill them and deal all of this instant damage. So I don't like it from a player standpoint. I don't like it from a DM standpoint. I don't think it's well balanced, and I don't like that that's like the signature thing for the ability to do, and channel divinities should be something that players should do more often. The 6th level ability is that anytime you're reduced to 0 hit points, you get 2 free melee attacks as a reaction. Okay, I hope you're good at melee fighting, and I hope whoever downed you is in melee range. I mean, if somebody range attacked you, then you're not going to do any good. It also gives you a death saving throw failure to do that. It rarely seems like that would be worth it then, unless your player is going to pop back up. So that one seems like not the most exciting ability. I like the idea of having abilities that can manipulate or affect the death saves. I don't think that's something that has been explored very often in class abilities. So I kind of like where this domain is going in terms of that, but that's really the only thing that we have there, is that one, like, using this ability gives you a death saving throw failure. Like, what if you had more abilities, or what if the ability was like, hey, anytime you're reduced to 0, you either automatically get like 2 death save passes, or what I would have really liked to see is if you're reduced to 0, maybe you can pop back up on 1 hit point, not just rolling a 20, but rolling a 15 or higher, even a 10 or higher or something. Or maybe make that scaling, like, on a 15 or higher, you gain 1 hit point and pop back up, and then at 15th level it's 11 or higher. You can have abilities affect the death save specifically, because it's a character that should be manipulating their own hit points. And we're going to skip to the 17th level ability because this is a segue. The 17th level ability is that you can sacrifice hit dice to gain spell slots. So kind of the way, like an arcane recovery or using sorcery points, you can spend that to gain spell slots. There's no reason this should be a 17th level ability. This should be a beginning level ability. Now, you start thinking about the sacrifice domain as being like almost like a Warcraft warlock or something, where they're, pulling in they're draining their own life force to funnel their spell casting. So thematically, I'm not sure it exactly fits, but if we're going with the theme of using your own life force, hit dice at least is a form of your own, like, exhaustion. So I feel like that's different than using hit points. And I think you could use that as an earlier ability and then have it scale as they level up, because you'll get more hit dice and more spell slots. And I like that idea of kind of draining of this character class draining their own, life force abilities to be able to do other things. And this is the easiest way to do that, is just converting hit dice to spell slot. And I believe you can, as a bonus action, you can expend spell slots and gain hit dice. You can actually do it back and forth. Just make that an earlier ability and make it so as you level up, you gain different ability and different things. And I think that would be a lot more exciting of a way for a cleric to be able to manipulate both their health and their spell slots and kind of keep them linked together. And then just 8th level, you can spend hit dice to reroll a saving throw, which I am always a fan of things that scale off of hit die, because they kind of automatically scale as you level up. You gain new hit die every time. And I like the theme of kind of expending your own stamina, I think, is the best way to think about it for hit die. And not enough abilities in classes use that. So 8th level is probably the only one where I have no problem with, and I think that's a fine ability. But as you can see here, there are some major problems with this class. The theme is a little bit all over the place. I just don't think a lot of the abilities are balanced very well. I wish it had done more dice rolls. I wish it had done more with the death saves. I wish the blood to mana thing was an earlier ability, and the channel divinity needed to be completely different, redesigned. I definitely do not like the idea of having a one-time explosive blast. I think that could have been used as, make that the 17th level ability, maybe, or make it so there's some kind of scaling where you can choose how many hit points you want to funnel into it. And if you want to expend all of your hit points, almost like using like a wand of magic missiles, where if you expend it all the way down to, like 1, or like zero. I think if you expend all charges, then you have to like re-roll to see if it's broken or something. You know, you could use a similar deal like that, where if you expend everything, you can maybe get down to a die roll to see if you die from it or something. I don't know, but don't just make it so you can't ever use the ability. That's just not very fun. And that's basically the whole thing. So we're gonna go over my pros and cons right now. The pro is that it's a good looking product, despite being very, 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 very short. All of like 3 pages, or 2 pages really. It's got a really nice cover. It's got a good design. I feel like maybe the text could have used some more color, especially with the tables here and maybe some headings. But you know, the font, the artwork, all of that's good. It looks like a good professional product despite being so short. Cons: it is very, very short, and there are things you can do to make this bigger, even if you don't have the advantage of having, you know, extra invocations or augments or new spells or something to add to it. You can at least add more flavor, or even give me like an NPC stat block. Or, you know, one thing that Xanathar's did very well was add tables for every single subclass that kind of gave you some role-playing flavor to work off of. I feel like there's at least another page worth of content that we could have gotten out of here that would have really rounded things out. And I kind of coalesced all of my balance cons into the main one, which is the channel divinity is a big problem to me, because it seems like that should be the cornerstone for this class, is the ability to explode yourself in a blast. But I don't like the fact that it's a one-time, and there's no save. The damage even doesn't seem worth killing yourself. Like, it just, I have a massive problem with the way the channel divinity works. Balance in general, but particularly that one is the most egregious, is the other con. So, final verdict: hampered by questionable balance and design, the sacrifice domain doesn't make a strong enough case among the crowded cleric domains. Thank you to everyone for watching this video review. You can see my written review at roguewatson.com. You can support my work at patreon.com/roguewatson. You can follow our own D&D adventures here on my YouTube channel. Thank you.